That's it. Thank you, Pastor Jen. So if you could turn to the book of James or find it on your devices, we are beginning a new series for the next 8 weeks. We're going to be in the book of James. Has anybody read the book of James all the way through? It's not that long. Yeah? See some hands going up? Okay, all right. Not that many chapters. You can read through it in like one sitting if you're a big time reader. If you're not, probably take you a couple days, but I'm not going to judge you. So we're going to be going through the book of James. This series is titled "A Faith You Can See." And the reason it's titled that is because James encourages us for practical Christian living. It urges believers to not just say we follow Jesus, but to show how we follow Jesus through our actions, and we demonstrate that through what we do, what we say, and how we live. Now, a little history on the book of James. This was written by the little brother of Jesus. Imagine being Jesus' little brother. Would anybody like that role? I wouldn't. So this was written by Jesus' little brother, James, the Apostle James. And what's so unique about this one is that James was actually one of the first letters that were circulating through the churches. So when it comes to James talking about how to live out your faith, he's writing this to a very early group of Christians. It was long before Christianity had governance and power and all this stuff. They were a very small group of believers, mainly Jewish at the time, throughout the Roman Empire. They didn't have much power, much authority, much influence. And he's writing very practical ways of living out your faith to a very young church. And that's significant. It's significant because even when we're reading through James today, the practicality of James and how it shows us how to live, God's living word, we can read it today and say, I need that for my life. This is showing me something. So just imagine if we're gathering things from James and it's speaking to us and giving us practical wisdom, imagine what it was for the early church who was persecuted. The early church who, if you were a Christian, you were flogged or killed or kicked out of towns or imprisoned. To an early church who was oppressed, not just by religious leaders, but even by the Roman Empire, and oppression on the early church. And then James comes in with the very first chapter, the very first few verses, and he says this, James 1, 2 through 4. Consider it pure joy, brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, that you may be mature and complete, not lacking in anything. Consider it pure joy, brothers and sisters. He's writing this to a church that is oppressed and persecuted. It was not easy. It was hard. It was difficult. If you made a decision to follow Jesus, that decision meant you could actually lose your life. And he said, consider it pure joy. I talked about this before. I worked for a company that overhauled landing gears for airplanes. And the landing gear, you might be like, what the heck is that, Pastor Brian? That is the part that the tire is attached to. So the tires are separate, but the tire is attached to the landing gear, and they're the legs that come down, and that's how the plane lands on the ground, on the runway. But when you're overhauling a landing gear, see, once all the individual parts have been reworked, repaired and replaced, they assemble everything back together again. It's called final assembly. But before they place it in a crate and you ship it away to where it needs to go, it has to go through a series of tests. And these tests ensure that it's fully functional. The test is to make sure that nothing is leaking, nothing is broken, and nothing is missing. See, the test is not done with the idea that it's not going to work properly. See, the test is not done, and they don't put it under stress to break it or bend it. That's not the purpose. See, they test it in order to prove that it's strong and that it's functional. The test is to prove something, not to break something. So what James is communicating is that trials don't break our faith. They reveal whether it's real or not. Trials aren't meant to break us, but they reveal what's really there. Today, as a part of my sermon, we have a live sermon illustration. What does that mean? This past semester at LPU, I had the wonderful privilege of being a mentor for the McPherson Preaching Institute. And the aim is to walk aside along people who felt called to ministry, and they have a calling to ministry to actually provide them an opportunity to preach or share their testimony in church. So today, I have Kyle Wilson with me. You don't have to come up yet, you're good. I have Kyle Wilson with me. He's going to share his testimony. He's going to share, this is our live sermon illustration. He's going to talk about what he's gone through in life, what the Lord has brought him through, his trials and his testing that he has gone through in life. And for the past 2 months, we've been working through this in getting to know him and getting to know his story. What I have discovered is that Kyle, on the other side, see, he's on the other side of hardship. He's on the other side, but he looks back and he was like, no, God brought me through this. It was amazing to see him discover for himself, like, oh, I can see where God was when this happened. I can see where God was when I was being tested, when I was going through this hardship. I can see God's hand on my life. So I'm going to invite Kyle up right now. And I know his story is going to encourage you, and I know it's going to build your faith. So give Kyle a round of applause.
Hello. Hello. My name is Kyle Wilson. I'm from Atlanta, California. That's across the freeway is Victorville. Hello. I repeated. Okay. Hello, my name is Kyle Wilson. I'm from Atlanta, California. Across the highway is Victorville, basically. I grew up in a non-Christian household. I'm the second oldest of 6. On my dad's side, I'm the oldest. On my dad's I'm the oldest. On my mother's side, I'm the second oldest. I didn't really attend church like that. The only time I attended was with my friend Benjamin, and that's like every other week when I spend the night at his house. My family, we didn't believe in Jesus, but I'll say that we needed Jesus. So today I'm going to tell you guys how God changed my life. Before Christ, my life was marked by brokenness, compassion, tangled with my own pain, and unhealed wounds of my childhood. Through my life, there was a lot of negative experiences that impacted my thinking and led me making decisions that were self-destructive in the end. I don't remember the time. I don't remember like the age, but I remember I was sexually abused. I remember the the confusion of my identity. I remember the lack of focus in class. I remember the long time struggle with lust. As I was a child, I thought me dealing with those lustful thoughts were normal. I thought every child did. But sooner or later, it actually had a negative impact on me. In class, I would always daydream and think about the thing that was happening to me or whatever. I remember one time my teacher came up to me and slammed their book on the desk. I was daydreaming, and I remember feeling the embarrassment, like everybody laughing at me. Like I was like, she's like, Kyle, what's going on? Like, what are you thinking about? What are you daydreaming about? I remember feeling so embarrassed of what I was thinking about, and I remember like just telling her lies, like, okay, telling her a lie, like I was just tired. Through my life and continuously, I was shaping my mind of how I would view the world and how I view women by meditating on those things. As I'm starting to get into middle school and middle school, I'm starting to have these I'm starting to have these inner conflicts. I would start dealing with like same-sex attraction, I meant to say, and I'm struggling with that. Every day I'm talking to myself like this is not right. This is not me. I'm like I know I like. I'm just dealing with those every day. I also struggle with people trying to affirm my identity, saying, Kyle, you're this, Kyle, you're that, and I'm just dealing with that every day. I remember that led me down more destructive path when I was struggling with. I remember dealing with that led me more down a destructive path by leading me to pornography, which also was destructive to me. Through my life, there was a lot of experiences that impacted me, but I think this is the most valuable one in my life. I remember it was freshman year. I remember this vividly. I remember I was sitting in my back room, and I was laying down, I guess. I remember my mom and my brother and my cousin was in the front. I don't know what happened, but I remember my mom just running out the house, and I just hear the door slam. So I'm thinking, okay, it's late at night. My brother and my cousin gonna grab my mom. So I waited there patiently, waiting to them to go to her. And then I eventually got up and walked to my parents, walked to my brother and cousin, asked them like, "You guys gonna go grab my mom? Like, what's going on?" And then so I ran to the back room, grabbed my shoes, and ran out the door. As soon as I ran out the door, the cold air just smacked me. I remember like catching up to my mom and grabbing her, holding her, asking mom like, "What's going on? Like, mom, what's going on? Like, what happened?" I remember she slowly looked at me and tears in her eyes, saying like, what was she dealing with? What was she struggling with? Like, what was going on with her? After she told me what's going on, I was kind of choked up a little bit, and I just grabbed my mom and walked with her and turned her around to tell her like, "Mom, it's okay, Mom. Whatever you're going through, it's okay, Mom. I love you, Mom. It's okay." As we turned back, we started walking back. I was just telling my mom repeatedly, "Mom, it's okay. Mom, we're gonna be okay. We're good, Mom." At that moment, that's it. At that moment, I didn't realize God wasn't using me as her son. I feel like God was using me to comfort her as the same way He comforted us with love, patience, and peace. Fast forward, 23 years old. I know I'm old. I know. I fast forward. I'm 23 years old. It's COVID, around COVID, whatever. I remember I just got a bad relationship. I just got cheated on. I'm starting to be depressed. I'm starting not to hang out with my friends. Starting to not neglect basically my best friend, and I'm just being on my own. I remember the time where we would just be on the game every day, and we would just talk to each other every day, be vulnerable with each other. And I remember how he would call me every day to like trying to get me back to myself, like, "Come on, Kyle, let's get on the game," because that was just our thing to do. We did that daily. And I remember just feeling that sense of like, I know there was only going to be two things that was going to happen when we got on the game. I know that I was going to feel that temporary happiness of when I got on the game, the temporary happiness. And the second thing was he was always right about my relationships. Every relationship I had or been in, he always was right. Like, Kyle, leave her alone and don't be with her. And I hated that. So eventually, I just put my pride aside and I opened up to him. And I remember I remember getting on the game when we was talking. I'm being vulnerable with him. He just, Kyle, Kyle, I love you, but you should never did this. Now look at you. Now you're in this place right now, and I'm just saying, okay, you got it. So as he going in on me, I remember saying like, I need a godly woman. I don't know I just spoke out. So I need a godly woman. So eventually after that, I started coming to myself. I started being working out. I started being with my friends. I started hanging out with my family, and eventually basically being Kyle, I would say. Fast forward, I'm in school playing football, and my brother at the time, Kishan, he had a girlfriend, and she had a roommate. And I remember him coming and asking me like, Kyle, are you interested in anybody? I said no at the time. I wasn't being myself. I remember him telling me like, Kyle, you should give her a try. Like, she's a godly woman. She goes to church. She loves the Lord, and she just speaking highly of her. And I hesitated, but then I said, okay. I remember my first time. I remember we exchanged numbers. We started talking to each other. We got connected with each other, and then eventually we met up. As my first time meeting her was an experience I'll never forget. So we went to her apartment, and we met each other, and we sat down. We hugged each other, then sat down, meant to say. And the uncomfortability I felt when I sat down, I'll never forget this. I remember when I sat down, she was speaking to me, but I couldn't talk to her because her presence was like so strong. Her presence was like what is this? Like, why am I not speaking? Why am I not talking to her? What's going on? I remember just like thinking like how did she get this? And then later on, I knew to myself like, I want that. Whatever she got, I want that presence. And eventually, we started talking to each other. We started dating and continuing to read the Bible with each other. And I remember my first time. I remember going to church. I remember we went to church, and I remember the same presence that I seen, the same presence I felt with her was the same presence I felt at church. And that was also the first time, also the first time I seen people respond to God's presence. After that time, I started going to church weekly. Started seeing everybody and seeing people cry, weep, and going with the Lord. At first, I thought like, this is not for Kyle. This is not for me. Like, I don't need this. And then slowly but surely, the Lord kind of started showing me like oh, I need you. Like, I need you. Throughout the week and probably months, my pride once stood in the way of my struggle. But over time, God began to show me why I needed Him to save me from my self-destructive behaviors. As He worked in my heart throughout the week and probably months. As I started going to church, and I realized I called my pastor at the time, Pastor Vince. I told him like I want to give my life to Christ. So on July 9th, 2022, I was baptized and surrendered my life fully to Him. Thank you. As I started being a new believer in Christ, I didn't know what spiritual warfare was. I didn't know what that was. And then I started feeling like the tension at home with friends, with family, and everything. I remember reading this one verse that stood out to me. I'll never forget this. Then Jesus said to His disciples, any of you wants to be my follower, you must give up your own way, take up your cross, follow me. Matthew 16:24. But I didn't understand that verse. I didn't understand the verse at first. I didn't know what that meant. Like, what does that mean? Until I actually had to live it out with my friends. My friends would ask me, "Come on, Kyle, let's go party. Let's go do this. Let's go do that." Like going back to my old ways. And my answer was no, because our definition of good and God's good is different. There was a season of isolation, what I thought felt like chaos, felt like hell. It felt like I was losing everything. I felt like everything was kind of going back to my ways. But it was a time where I realized now that the Lord was taking somebody from me who I had above Him. The person that introduced me to Christ, God, I had her in front of God. And during that season, we separated, and I came to being a season by myself. Deuteronomy 6:5 said, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength." As I'm still walking through the season, by what I thought was by myself was actually with the Lord. I'm starting to still struggle with my coping mechanism. I'm still trying to read. I'm still trying to finish school. I'm still trying to be a godly at home. I'm still trying to live this Christ-like out. But through all that, God was still looking at me. For a righteous man may fall 7 times and rise again, but the wicked shall fall by calamity. Proverbs 24:16. I knew what I said on the altar. I knew I was going to be a light on the other side of this. Even with the pain with my mom, even with the sexual trauma, or even the season of depression, Jesus still found me, and He's changing me. He's calling me higher. Thank you.
Say it. Kyle, thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your story with us. Vulnerability is not a weakness, because God can use your pain to bring about restoration for somebody else. And He can reconcile somebody here, and restore somebody here. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your story. Because He doesn't allow us to go through anything that He cannot redeem. There's nothing that God can't redeem. And you see that in Kyle's life. You may see that in your own life. When we go through trials and tribulations, God can heal. He can bring fullness beyond our imagination. And see, we don't need to compare trials either, whether big or small, because we all go through something. That something is called life. Life will be lifing at times, as they say. But it's not what we're going through or size comparison of what we're going through. The fact is that we're going through life, and life will be hard. But see, we have to focus on growing through what we're going through, because it's about growth. When we're being tested, it's not to break us, but it's to make us stronger. Jesus said we will face trials of many kinds. That can be family, it could be finances, it could be health, it could be work. It could be your neighbors. I don't know. But we shouldn't be surprised when we face trials, because Jesus even told us they will come. Trials come because we live in a fallen and broken world. But the good news is that Jesus is victorious over sin, death, hell, and the grave. So no matter the trial we're going through, no matter the hardship we go through, we stand on the fact that Jesus is victorious over all of it. The one who suffered unjustly for us, even to the point of death. The one who was resurrected. The one who ascended into heaven. That same Jesus says He will never leave us, nor will He forsake us. That same Jesus who suffered as well said, "You will suffer, but I have overcome the world." The Bible tells us that we are more than overcomers. You are more than an overcomer. James 1:17 says, "Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of the heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows." See, the good in this life is from God. Life is from God. The fact that we breathe, a comforting hug, a friend or family member by your side when you lose what seems like everything, a miraculous healing or provision, the sunrise on the foothills, you name it. It's from the Father above. But the word says that God is not shifty. He will never say one thing but do another. He will never leave you in a heated situation or be unfaithful. He can't lie. He loves so dearly, why would he ever do that? If he said this test or trial won't break you, you can trust that you won't be broken, but you'll be better. If God said it, then it's true. If Jesus said he will never leave us nor forsake us, and in hard times, in good times, in so-so times, then we can trust that. If he says that I am the healer, then I can trust that he is the healer. If he says that I am the deliverer, I can trust that he is the deliverer. He's not going to say one thing and do another. If he says that I am God Almighty, ruler over all of creation, and I have overcome the world, I can trust that. I can trust that no matter what we face in this world, Jesus said, I have overcome all of it. I rule over all of it. If he says I won't be broken, I can trust that I won't be broken. But that takes surrender. That takes a humbling of ourselves to say, look, God, would you have your way in me? Look, when we're going through something tough, man, it's really hard. Don't we get tunnel vision? We get tunnel vision when things are hard. We get tunnel vision when things seem really rough around us. Look, the atmosphere around us right now is hard. It's difficult. The atmosphere around us and the fear that surrounds us is hard. And it's so easy for us to get tunnel vision. But see, the problem with tunnel vision is that we don't look up either. But see, what it requires of us when we're going through hard times is to look up. We have to look up and say, God, if you are there, if you are with me, then man, may I feel your presence. May I understand deeply your love for me. You got to look up. Because when we get tunnel vision, we can't see anything but the hardship that is in front of us. We can't see the goodness all around us and the good and perfect gifts that come down from the Father above. But that Father is not like a shifting shadow. He's not changing. He's been good and will always be good, even when it feels like he's abandoned you. But he hasn't, because he said he never will. It may feel that way. Trust me, I have felt that. I have been mad at God. Has anybody else ever been mad at God? I've had my moments with the Lord where I'm like, where are you? And he's like, right here. But I'm like, you didn't show up the way I wanted you to show up. And he's like, that's not your decision. That's not based upon you. I don't show up how you want me to show up. I had to wrestle. I've wrestled with God. I've been upset at him. Where were you when this happened? Has anybody ever been there? God, where were you when this happened? But he was there, but we didn't recognize him. Because sometimes when we're going through life, and when we get into that tunnel vision and all we can see is our hardship, we don't notice the scenery around us. And God becomes background scenery, and we don't pay attention to him. But he's like, look, I'm walking with you. I'm all around you. I'm there for you. But are you paying attention? Are you paying attention? Because when we pay attention, we discover that that testing is producing perseverance in us. That testing is producing something in you. That testing is birthing something in you. There may be something that God is birthing within your spirit. It could be a ministry. It could be a calling. It could be direction. But he's birthing it within you when you're going through the testing and the hardship and the trial. It's producing something. It's producing something. It's like working out. Have you ever worked out before? Some people are like, look, Pastor Brian, I ain't worked out in a long time, but I've done it in my life. And some of you work out all the time. I look at Matt, that guy runs all the time. But it's like when you work out. When you're working a muscle or a muscle group, it's going to hurt. You're going to feel the pain for days at a time, depending on how hard you work out. You'll feel it for a long time. But that tearing of the muscle and that stretching of the tendons is actually producing strength. And when you sit and when you allow your muscles to rest, when we rest in the Lord, when we rest in his goodness, as we're going through a testing, as our muscles are being stretched and it's painful and it hurts, when we rest, that's when the muscle actually gets stronger. Because it's in that testing and in that hardship and under that strain and pressure, your muscles are getting stronger. So when we're going through hardship and trial, you have to keep in your mind, man, I'm just getting stronger. Lord, would you make me stronger? Would this produce good fruit in my life? Perseverance, patience, long-suffering, resilience. You're becoming more resilient. When we work out our muscles become stronger. They become more resilient. They can take more weight. They can take more pressure. So when the next trial comes, when the next testing comes, when we go through it, not with tunnel vision, but we're looking around saying, God, where are you? Would you show me? When we're allowing it to produce perseverance in us, when the next testing comes, when life begins to life again, our muscles can take a little bit more weight. Your muscle can take a little bit more pain. It can take a little bit more tension. Your heart becomes a little stronger. You gain a little bit more resilience. Because, you know, one thing that is guaranteed, other than taxes, is that we will go through hardship. We will experience pain in this life. We will experience loss. It's a part of life. But we also experience God's goodness simultaneously. We experience his faithfulness, his goodness, his patience with us, his warm and loving embrace. It's all a part of life. I'm going to invite the worship team back up. After we take communion and during worship, I really felt led, and the Lord placed this on my heart to really make space for people to receive prayer today. Kyle's story might be similar to some of yours, or maybe it might have brought up some trauma in your own life, and that needs to spiritually be laid at the feet of Jesus. And what I mean by laying it at the feet of Jesus, in Revelation, it talks about how the elders laid their crowns down at the foot of the throne. What we do when we lay our hardship and our things down at the feet of Jesus spiritually, we're saying, Lord, whatever this weight is, whatever I'm carrying, I'm putting it down before you, because everything needs to lay at your feet anyway. Your pastors and some faithful leaders will be here to pray for you. And I really encourage you, please don't shy away from coming up. Trust me, I know it can be nerve-wracking to walk up to the front. I get it. But the devil would love for you to remain in your shame and in your fear. But Jesus wants you to be free. The devil wants you to remain there. He wants you to remain afraid. He wants you to remain bound. But God is saying, look, I want you to be free. I want you to feel lighter. Because look, life is heavy as it is. Let me lighten up the load. Jesus said, if you are weary and burdened, come to me and I will give you what? I will give you rest. John 8:36, Jesus says, if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. Do you believe that? Remember, he's not a shifting shadow. He's not shifting. He's not going to say one thing and do another. If he says the Son will set you free, therefore you are free indeed. As we prepare for communion, please don't feel obligated if this is not your practice or you just don't understand it. You don't have to come up and take communion. But as we prepare our hearts for communion, may we keep in mind the act of laying it down at the feet of Jesus. May we keep in mind that, and may we think about the trials and the tribulation, what the Lord has brought us through, what he's bringing us through. As we take communion, we don't just remember the body and the blood of Jesus that was broken and shed for us, but we also remember how he's been with us this whole time. And he's walked alongside you, and he's brought you through some things, and he's bringing you through some things. We remember his goodness. So if you can stand, you can make your way up for communion. We'll take communion together and enter into worship.